Hello everyone, my name is The Fox. This is going to be a comparison looking at the differences between Steam Play's new initiative called Proton. We are going to be running version 3.7-6 beta. This came out 2 days ago, September 7th. Today, the filming for this video is September 9th. I do find that the 3.7-6 beta has better compatibility than the 3.7-3. Steam Play's Proton is basically a mixture of Wine and DXVK, which is another layer for DirectX 10 and DirectX 11 to be wrapped in Vulkan API. So there's a bunch of different stuff that Steam Play Proton is using and its own derivative of it that is kind of combining together to make an easy use case for people to just install a game on Steam and then play it on a Linux-based machine. Both of these machines are the same. These are both GPD Win 2 platforms. It's 7Y30 based, Core M3. They are using Intel's HD 615 GPU, which is an integrated Intel GPU. So on Ubuntu, you are going to need the message drivers for Vulkan before any of this will even begin to work. If you don't have that, this won't work at all because it does need Vulkan running, initialized, and ready to go for any of this to actually work. So I'm using the latest message drivers. I am running 18.4.1, Ubuntu 18.4.1, and that is it. We'll go ahead and launch Tekken 7, which is a DirectX 11 game. And I have found that it has worked. So we'll go ahead and switch over to gamepad mode just so that works while the game loads. There are some differences that should be apparent when we start loading the game. One of the good things is that performance is almost near where Windows is at. It's slightly behind. But still, we're early days yet for Valve to have made this available to everyone, and it is working well for what it is. So I do look forward to seeing this progress and seeing how well this goes forward, especially as IHVs and stuff make drivers and stuff a little bit better for Vulkan, as it's going to be leaning pretty heavily on that. So we'll go ahead and load this real quick. I'll show you what is running, what kind of system we're running at right now. One of the reasons that I like this game is that it's not on Linux at all, so we're specifically using Steam Play for this entirely. You can see we're running at 720p, but we are running with custom resolution, so the render scale is at 50%, so it's more like 507p. Everything else is lower off. So we'll go ahead and start an offline game. We'll go to practice, and we'll do, let us do, I'll just do it easy. We'll do Paul versus Heihachi, and we'll do this stage. So go ahead and run this. And up here will be the frame rate counter, which is one of the reasons why I chose Tekken 7, as it's a pretty heavy game, pretty heavy DirectX 11 game, pretty modern. Also includes an FPS monitor, because I don't know what an equivalent for Linux is for like Riva Tuner to be running on-screen display diagnostics and stuff. Also, all of the color is kind of messed up. Oh, my dogs are barking like crazy. Apologies about that. I gotta go see what that was about. Anyway, you can see that there is this yellowish hue that is kind of all over the screen. Additionally, you can see that there are a bit of hiccups, even though that our frame rate counter is showing 30 FPS right now. It doesn't really feel as fluid as that. There are some very clear kind of hiccups here. It's not terribly smooth. There's new kernel available. I am using 4.18.6 right now. There it is. Let's see if I can't. Press them up against here. Oh no, it's gotta go this way. See if we can't knock them off the map. Sweet. Okay. You can see, oh look, achievement unlocked. That's pretty cool. So you can see that FPS is at 28. It went up briefly to 35. 31. You know, this is actually kind of at parity with the Windows build, except not having this yellowish sheen that's going on right now. The only thing that I think is worth noting is that there is a palpable latency that is present, and it's kind of hard to describe, and it might not be apparent, especially with this frame rate counter indicating otherwise. But it's just a scotch off. It feels like some of my input is not really being accepted. This is rumbling like crazy, so all the Xbox stuff is working just fine. But yeah, frame rate is actually pretty on par with Windows right now, outside of this yellowish sheen going on right now. Anyway, let me go ahead and stop this, and we'll take a look at the Windows build of Tekken 7. Alright, so now here we are in Windows. This is build 1803. We'll go ahead and take a look at options, and we'll go to graphic settings. You can see that we are exactly the same. Render scale is 50%. Everything is lower off, exactly the same as it was on Ubuntu. We'll go into practice, and we'll select the same characters, and frame rate should be pretty similar, except we won't have that yellow hue that you saw previously. We'll go to the same map. So really, it's pretty exciting to see how far along this has come and how easy it is for the user to set up, because outside of just installing the message drivers for this and getting to like the latest kernel, I am using just the latest version of Ubuntu, so this is 18.4.1. There's not a whole bunch to do, and you can see already that this looks a lot cleaner, and you can see that frame rate is pretty much quite similar. The only thing that I would like to state is that the fluidity is considerably better. It's a lot easier to kind of pull off movements. As I say that, I'm not able to do it. There we go. And then obviously when we get down here, you can see that frame rate does increase. We're at 34, 36. So even though 38, so Windows is still slightly faster. I was actually hoping that, especially as things go on, because this is running DirectX 11, and that is pretty heavy of an API to be running for games. It will be touching a lot more on CPU. Oh, we hit 41 FPS. So yeah, again, Windows is still running faster, and perhaps that frame rate difference is actually what it is. But there does still seem to be definitely something palpably latent in the Ubuntu build. However, I mean, this is still early days yet. This is the version I'm using is still beta. It came out just a week ago, so it's still very, very interesting. And I'll be keeping tabs on this. So I'm going to have this machine stay in Ubuntu with the latest Vulkan drivers. I'm going to be keeping up to date with everything, and I'll be updating you guys as I have more info. We're at 33 FPS right now, so it's more in line with how Ubuntu was, but being able to play a lot of new games, modern games that run on DirectX 11 or DirectX 10, have them be translated to Vulkan, especially because the Vulkan backend stuff runs a bit better on Ubuntu than it does on Windows. The Mesa group has things a little bit more well in hand than Intel does, especially when we try to like run Dolphin over here. I can run Dolphin and Vulkan, and performance is considerably better than it is on Windows, because Vulkan outright fails on Windows. So having said that, that's where we are. Oh, someone's coming into my room. So my dogs were just fighting just now, so I had to break that up. Let me go ahead and get out of this. I'm going to actually go ahead and load up Dolphin on here with Vulkan, just so you can see that that is working. And there's some positive things to be running Linux on the GPU into, as opposed to, you know, just in a general state for Steam Play and their Proton initiative. Hold on one moment. Alrighty, so this is just to demonstrate that Dolphin does run. If we go over into graphics, graphics. You can see that we can run Vulkan. Stop that. And it doesn't complain to me at all. I have run Vulkan on the Pocket 2, the GPU Pocket 2, and it does run games at 60 FPS at 4.5 watts. So for sure, Vulkan on Linux side of things is way better to be running. The only problem is that it's kind of a pain because Dolphin needs to get the latest development build of Dolphin on Linux. You have to compile the whole thing, which isn't super hard. It's just kind of tedious and it's just time. It just takes time to compile all that stuff as opposed to just downloading it and running it. Because you're only going to get the latest stable build, which is pretty old at this point. Dolphin 5 stable is considerably old and doesn't have a lot of new features like async hybrid drivers, Uber drivers, which is practically necessary on low power machines. Anywho, that's it. Steam Play is coming along. I'll be updating you guys with new games as they're playable. I'll be keeping things up to date and seeing how well that works. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.